Hi everyone, and thank you for joining me. This is the final project for the June 2020 virtual art retreat being run through my Facebook group, God's Refrigerator. Now the theme of this retreat is Shake Up Your Faith, and we've been making toys. We've been making shakers. And I've had an idea, and we're going to be doing this every retreat now. At the end of the retreat, I'm going to give you a project which you can make and add to every month. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a tag album, which is basically just a tag that you'll decorate using the skills that you have just learnt at this retreat, or that you already brought with you and helped me and helped everyone else at the retreat. And you're going to use those skills to make a tag, which you're then going to put on a ring or just tie all together with ribbon, so that every month you add a tag to your album, and over time you'll create a little memory album of all the different things that you've worked on at our retreats. I hope you think it's a good idea. I think it's rather exciting. So this is the tag that I've made. It's a shaker tag because we've been making shakers, and it's made from a chipboard tag which I just measured and cut myself, covered with a Bible page. Psalm 62 is what I've chosen. Watercoloured doilies, Inktense pencils, made a shaker, filled the shaker, stuck some flowers, did a bit of decorating. So this is the process video coming up now of how to make this if you want to create one like this, but you don't have to. You can just say, okay, great, fantastic, I get you. Turn the video off right now, run off and make your tag using your favorite shaker technique, and then come back and show us. That would be great. So I hope you join in this project. It's going to be lots of fun, and over time it will be really cool to watch these albums grow. Okay, here's the tutorial. Okay, so the first thing I did was I cut a tag out of some really thick cardstock / chipboard. This is the sheet that comes in the back of a packet of scrapbooking paper. You could use the cardboard sheet that comes in the back of your sketch pads and your notebooks, or you could use packaging. Cereal boxes are always great. Boxes from anything that you buy that's large enough. You could use just cardboard, any sort of cardboard. You can make this as thick or thin as you like. Because mine was quite thick, I actually I cut it just by measuring. I actually worked backwards. I measured the size of the dies that I wanted to use for the shaker part, and then worked from there so that I knew it would be wide enough. So I just measured and cut with a knife on my cutting board. And I actually cut a couple of them while I was at it, so I've got next month's all ready to go. What I did then is before actually covering it, but I covered the back with just some pretty scrapbooking paper, and I covered what's going to be the front with the page of Psalm 62 that I ripped out of my art supply Bible. And what I did is I used this smaller, I have a pack of nesting dies. I think these are Kaiser Craft. There's a few of them. I don't know where I've put it. I think there's 5 or 6 in the packet. I've chosen these 2 sizes. So the smaller one I actually cut through the chipboard on its own first before covering it, because I knew it was going to be too thick for these thin dies, and I actually had a lot of trouble. I had to put it through the big shop multiple times, and ended up tearing a little piece off that just was not cutting, because these are not meant to cut this really thick solid chipboard. So I cut the chipboard first, and then I cut the papers. I did not cut the papers to size. I actually kept them larger, cut the hole with the die, then lined up the hole onto the tag, glued it, and when it was dry then I cut around the tag so that it fitted and was right. I think that makes sense. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use watercolors today to paint over the scripture on the tag, but I'm going to, I know I said in the previous video I was not going to waste this Sizzix tape anymore on Bible journaling masking, but I'm going to do it here because it's a little bit delicate, and I have a feeling that if I use my normal washi tape, that it's going to tear and make disaster. Sorry, I'm sounding a bit distracted because there's stuff going on in the background here. It's 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and it's the dog's dinner time. So my son has just walked across the room in the background, gone into the kitchen. The dog's gone, woohoo, it's dinner time. So now the dog's walking past, tail wagging, as they do. Okay, so I've masked that off, and all I'm going to do is just very, very, lots of water on here. Just very roughly, just put some bits of colour down. So I'm going for blues and greens. I could have wet the page first, but I'm making such a wet mess as I go that it's okay. So this at the moment that I'm using is my Prima Woodlands. What do they call these? They're watercolors. They have a specific name, which I can't remember at this moment, but yeah, it's the Prima brand. And I'm just putting down some rough little areas of colour. And then I have this really, really super El Cheapo that I bought at, you know, the dollar store, but it's got a nice blue in it and has a nice green. So just splash bits of colour here, there and everywhere. Now once the paint is dry, I actually cheated a little bit and got a heat gun happening. I have this paper doily. It's part of it's cut off because I've already used it before, and I'm just going to stick a little bit in the corner here. I'm just roughly cutting that. So I kind of measure where I want it and get a bit of glue action going. And just stick that down. And when the glue is dry on your doily, then I'm just going to just put a little bit more, tiny bit more colour. I'm leaving some of it white, but most of it is going to have the colours from the background, just so it's not too stark and white. So now I'm going to peel off the tape that's masking the verse, and I'm just going to grab my Inktense pencils, and yeah, I am going to first of all just very lightly go around the verse, and then with a wet brush I'm just going to smudge that. Fabulous. And I'm going to do the same thing around the doily, just in the center there. I'm just outlining the outside. I'm doing a little bit of a scribble up there. And then with my wet brush, I'm just letting that smudge. I'm just going to pick up some of the colour straight off the pencil, again with my wet brush, and just give it some little bits of dark brown here and there, just for interest. Fabulous. Now I'm just going to do a tiny bit of stamping around the page. I just have this kind of mixed media-ish, almost steampunky script and music notes and letters and paperclip kind of stamp, which I like for backgrounds. I'm just going to give it one stamp on there so it's not too dark, and then just a couple of little bits, sort of nondescript. And then just one more little thing. I'm really going all out with this background. I haven't done any bubble wrap painting for a while, so let's do a little bit, just a tiny bit. I won't go over the top, but just dab my bubble wrap onto some white paint, and I'm just going to put a little bit up here. There we go. A tiny bit down there in that corner. Fantastic. That's good enough for me. Okay, so off camera, because I did not want to bore you, what I did is I cut 2 acetate shapes using the large die, and then I used the Sizzix tape to stick these together to make a frame. And what I did was first of all I cut a frame to put on one piece of the acetate. So I've got the large acetate shape with the frame stuck over the front, or over the top, sorry. That's going to be the front of my shaker. I did the same thing for the back. So this is the back of the tag. I've got the acetate with the frame. So this is going to be a clear shaker window that you can see all the way through. I could have kept the tag without punching a hole in it and had a solid background, but I thought it would be fun to have a completely see-through window. So that's the back. Now for the front, on top of the 2 frames that I cut to stick onto the acetate sheets, I also cut another 6 cardstock frames, 3 green, 3 blue, to go with this background. I know, I'm mental. And I carefully stuck them all one on top of the other so that I have this thickness. I hope you can see that. So instead of using foam mounting tape, I've just layered six layers of cardstock frames, and that makes my depth. So what I will do now is I'll fill that with shaker mix, stick this final frame over the top, and I'll have my shaker window. So first thing to do, most important, is to de-static the windows. So I'll do both of them now because I'm sure to forget to do the top one. And I've already poured some shaker mix into my little tray. So I have, there are 2 Christmas mixes that we've seen in previous videos. There's blue and silver and gold. There are stars in there, there are snowflakes in there, and I'm just leaving them because they're just pretty and they'll go well enough with this tag. And I am, without making it too thick, I'm going chock-a-blockers and really filling it because I want it to be nice and full and busy and sparkly. So what I'll do then is just, make sure they're all inside. Put some glue around the top layer here. Get my final acetate window, give it another de-static because I'm a little bit paranoid. And please excuse the sound of the dog in the background if you can hear her. I crafted my doggy next to me. Maggie, shh. She's licking her elbow. Okay, and stick this down. Slide it across to sit perfectly on top. Well, it's not perfect, but it's close enough. And, oops. Okay, and I will let that dry. Right, now the shaker frames are all dry and the shaker is filled with shaky bits. I'm really happy with this. I like it. It's very pretty. And so I just want to decorate the frame a tiny bit because it looks kind of stark and boring like this. So I've pulled out a packet of Prima flowers. This number is 632533, and I believe it's called Francis. And I've picked out 3 of the flowers that I think will look kind of pretty down here in the cluster. So I'm just going to quickly glue them down. And I will wait for that to dry. And the flowers are dry. Excuse the noise in the background, my son's in the kitchen. He's threatening to make all sorts of noises for us and sing songs. It's good. If he starts to sing, it would be great. So now I'm just going to use my Tea Dye Distress ink to just give it a bit of a dab around the edges. And also to go along the very edge there of that chipboard, because it looks a bit yucky and boring at the moment. So I'm just rubbing the ink along there just to make it brown. It looks a little bit nicer that way. And I'll just quickly do the back as well. Just gives it a little bit more of a finished edge, I think, or a finished look rather. I've got, yes, you've probably noticed I've got a little bit of a hanging bit there. I had an accident when I was sticking the Bible page down on the tag and I ripped the corner. Nothing a bit of glue won't fix. Okay, now I'm sort of debating whether I want to do anything else with this frame. It looks a bit plain to me, but maybe that's okay. I just asked my son as he passed by, what do I need to do here? And he's like, no, I would leave it, it's fine. You're going to do too much. So I'll leave it like that for now. I may or may not come back to it later on. I should have pointed out, I did punch a hole in the top. Actually, I got my son to punch a hole in the top because I have this little single hole punch, but it's quite hard to use already, and using it on this really thick chipboard, I just couldn't do it. So I got my son to do it. He was like, ah, but he managed to get it, which is great. So I've grabbed this metal album ring, just tied a few scraps of ribbon offcuts onto it, which I will add to in time as I find little bits and pieces. And I'm just going to pop the album onto this ring. And here we are. We have our first tag from our retreat tag album. Oh, I should mention I also wrote the name, the date and the name of the retreat on the bottom. And so I've made this one quite dimensional because I know it's going to be the top one. The others that I make probably won't have quite so much dimension because they will be further down or, underneath this. But who knows? Maybe they will be. I don't know. We'll see what happens because I don't know at this point what we're doing next retreat. But every retreat now we will make one of these. And if you join in and make them, that's really great because over time you will have a little tag memory album of all your retreats down here in Australia. So I hope you'll join in and make this one. Lots of fun. And yeah, if you do make one, please come share it. Share it on the retreat event or on the God's Refrigerator Facebook group or anywhere where you can find me. All my social links are down below. Check them out. Come and connect with me socially and yeah, join in the projects, have some fun and say hello. Okay, thanks very much for joining me. Bye.